Hello guys and welcome to a brand new episode of Sound Design. Today we're going to be creating this very kind of stabby lead that can be used for some Don Diablo type productions or for deep house. And yeah, I could say Don Diablo like the Mexican way, like Don Diablo, Don Diablo. So this is the way it's going to sound like, and I call it normal deep house because deep house has a very change in note in the programming in the synths. So if you've ever dabbled with any deep house banks or sounds that have been created by sound designers, you'll notice that there's some change in notes that kind of give it that feel. So I took away that because I feel like this could be probably used for something more unique other than deep house, but it's still there if you want to make deep house. And it's that's going to sound like. And I'm getting a lot of latency right now. Anyways, that's what it's going to sound like. It's the shittiest performance ever. But you guys can download this for free on the Evil Sounds page. I'll make sure to put that in the description below. As always, you guys can follow the tutorial. I'll explain a little bit about the parameters of this and why it sounds so stabby. And how you can get your sounds to sound like that. So... as always, guys, please make sure to hit like on SamWorld Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter for daily production tips. And as always, just have fun with it. So let's get started. So straight away, our first oscillator is going to be a square wave or a pulse wave. Square waves are very, very sought after in type of deep house-ish bass lines. It's always going to be like a square. That's because a square, once you filter a square, and you run it through a filter, something just happens where the bass just gets a lot very heavy. So we're going to be using a square wave with 6 voices. We're going to have the retrig on for this. Remember, retrig is going to restart our phase, and our phase is pretty much the starting point. So whenever you play a note, your phase starts, and it goes, if you've ever seen someone laying in bed, like they're dying, and this is the worst example, but they're dying, and you see that thing that's beep, beep, and you can see it has like it's like, I don't know what it's called, but beep, beep. So it's like a phase. So every time that beep goes off, the phase starts, and then it goes back to where it goes, and then again and again. So it's like a series of patterns. So same thing here. Our square is going beep, and then it's going through this little phase, and then it starts over again. So our retrace is going to make it every time we press a key, we change in key, the phase starts over. It doesn't wait till for the synth to get to the 360 mark when it starts over. Let's just leave it at that. That's the worst explanation ever. Our pitch is down 2 octaves. As always, like with bass lines, it doesn't need to be down 2 octaves, but we're going to leave it like that. So down 2 octaves, this is going to be our bassy section. Pretty much we did some little bit of detuning at 2.29, and the thing that happens with synths, I'm sure you guys know detuning a guitar. When you detune a guitar, pretty much it's out of key, but when you detune in a synthesizer and you have more than like one voice going, pretty much what happens is when you put voices, just imagine the square waves. There's 8 square waves and they're all stuck together. As soon as you detune something, you're making the square waves kind of spread out their arms. So in essence, they're kind of spreading out a bit more, and that's what's happening when you detune. The best example of this is going to be detuning a saw. As you guys know, detuned saws with 8 voices create the super saw that trance is being known for. But once we detune something, it just starts to spread up. If I had an oscilloscope, I would be able to show you, but no need to. Not that important, just a fun fact. So detunement at 2.29, stereos all the way up, and we're going to pan this a little bit to the right by 0.19. Let's just leave it at 0. No need to do that. Okay. So now we're going to go into our amp envelope A, and all we're going to really do is just give it a little bit of more of a release. So release is going to be set to 2.28. Remember, the release is the tail, so this is going to pretty much make the sound stick around a little bit longer after you let go of your key. And it's important to realize that a lot of the deep house basses, or if you ever hear hip hop, you hear the 808s like dong, and you hear that long ass tail from the bass. That's because it has a high release, and the higher the release, the longer it will stick around. We don't want that long of a release though for the sound, so we're just gonna leave it at 2.28. And now we're going to oscillator A2, which is another key part of the sound. Now this is going to be the upper layer of our sound. We have the lower layer here, and I could have been said, okay, it's done. No, but I added an upper layer. with the saw with 8 voices. We're going to retrig this one, and we're not going to detune this at all because we want the straight out saw sound from it being in the upper layer. We're going to leave this at 0 here, and we're going to pretty much lower volume a tad bit to around 6.19 around there. Just around there should be a fine volume knob. And the reason we're lowering volume is because this is going to be part of our lower frequency. If we had this at high volume, this would kind of be a little bit more dominant. And that's because higher frequencies can be heard easier at lower volumes than lower ones. So if you've ever had a bass and you have that bass set to around -10 dB, which is, you know, let's just say that's barely, you can barely hear it. But then you get this super high hissy white noise or like some high sound, and you can hear it like blasting through the speaker. And that's because higher frequencies can come out and stand out more than lower frequencies. Okay, so now we're going to filter A. We're going to put input select A, not AB. And all we're going to put is a low pass at 12 dB. 12 dB and 24 dB, the difference between them is that 12 dB covers less, while 24 dB covers more of your sound. Our cutoff knob is set a little bit past 12, so around here between 12 and 1 should be fine. And we're going to put our drive up to around 10 o'clock around there. Doing this is, you're going to see a tremendous increase in volume, which is pretty much what we're trying to go for here. Our main cutoff knob, which is our filter control knob, and this is the master one, which controls part A and part B here. We're going to put that around 9 o'clock, actually. So a little bit past 9, a little bit past your bedtime. Resonance down, a little bit of key track at 0.76. What key track does is the higher you have your key track, the lower you're going to go down in notes. So let's say we're going to a lower octave. The filter will compensate by opening up a tad bit more. And the reason for that key track is just to kind of, you know, make sure you can hear the lower keys. That's the best way of putting it. I think I learned that from Centaurio, actually. And that's the way they explain key track. So that's what the key track is going to do. We give a little bit of 0.76 because we don't want to hear whoa, we want to hear da. You know, we want to hear the sound. Okay, so now we're going to go into pretty much what makes the sound unique in the sense that it's very stabby. Right now you probably won't hear anything. In fact, if I do this, you would just hear, it sounds like really like a bass, you know, like a bass guitar player, and they really don't get chick. So we need to open that up and turn it into a superstar. So the way we're going to do this is turn the black knob all the way up, which in essence is going to be routed to the cutoff AB, which is going to be routed to this filter here. In essence, what's going to happen is it's going to, we're going to open it up through ADSR. And I really don't like explaining ADSR because I explain it in almost all my videos, and I don't know if you guys are new or not. But ADSR stands for attack, decay, sustain, and release, which can be applied to almost anything, to a compressor, to reverb, so forth. Pretty much here what we have is our decay is going to be set to around, seriously, a little bit before 5, so around 4.48. We're going to give it a little bit of release at 1.03, not that much. So what's going to happen is this knob, or this knob, is going to turn instantly, and then it's going to decay back to the sustain level, which is set to 0.80. So we have our sustain level, and it's going to go back to the sustain level, which is around here. And then our release is going to decide how long it takes once you let go for that to go back to where it was. Okay, so pretty much now once we have this, you can hear the sound coming out because the cutoff knob opens up. Okay, now we go into mod envelope 2, and this is the secret to a lot of my sounds that I release for packs. If you guys go into them, you guys see that I always add the pitch AB, and the reason for this is just to make it punchier. Adding this envelope to almost any sound will make it sound punchier, and the reason for that is because we are changing the pitch very fast. So the pitch goes high to a certain value and comes back down to the original, and in essence, it's like a rubber band effect where when you pull the rubber band, you know, you pull it all the way, it comes back at you. And if you do it on your skin, it's going to hurt more than just going a little bit. So it does the rubber band effect, and you want your decay to be very, very minimally up, because once you get higher, you're going to hear it and it won't act as fast, as you can see. So we want it like a little bit where you can hear the effect, but you don't want it to, you know, you don't want it to sound like squeaky sound. So that's pretty much the key to that. Now we're going to finish up the sound. We're going to go into the distortion, where we're putting an overdrive type distortion. Always remember distortion adds a lot of harmonics to your highs. Shaper, same thing. Here we're using the overdrive to kind of beef this fucker up. The amount is set to 2.24, a little bit past 9. Dry and wet is set to 2 or 3, between 2 and 3 o'clock. So you can put it wherever you want. And our EQ, we go into the Sylenth1 EQ. As soon as you turn on your Sylenth1 EQ, your sounds are boosted by 7.5 and 7.5. So we're going to turn our bass a little bit up by 7.64. So we're just actually moving that knob just a tad bit up. And I might have done that by accident, but oh well. Our frequency is set to 1.187. So this is the frequency that's getting boosted by the bass, EQ bass here, notch. And then our treble is set to 10.29 dB at the frequency of 53.59 hertz. So in essence, you pretty much can't see an EQ spectrum, a frequency spectrum. But if you were to bring one up and you did the boost, you would be able to see where it's getting boosted and so forth when you turn this on and off. Finally, we're going to give the sound what I like to call the polish. You know, it's done, it's made. Now we just need to make it sound good. And Reverb always makes shit sound good no matter what. So what we're going to do is put the dry and wet at 50%. Our size is set to 9 o'clock, which is imitating the size of the room the sound's going to be in or should be in. The width is all the way up, which is going to make our reverb be stereo, fully stereo to the sides. No pre-delay. Our pre-delay pretty much decides, I call it a lagger, so it decides when the reverb kicks in. So if I had it all the way up, you hear the reverb kind of comes before. After, well, here, it's with it, after. So that's all it's doing. So no pre-delay. And no dampness. Dampness usually just makes the reverb sound really, like, you know, it's like you put a filter over it. Let's just say that. You hear it. And there you go. All right, so once we have that, no dampness there, no pre-delay. All I did here is just boost a little bit of mix A and put mix B down because we're not using mix B. You don't need to do that though. Nothing's going to happen. And pretty much we're going to be done with this sound. So if you guys wanted to add some mono legato to it, and that's all on you guys, you could do that. And now you'll get this. So that you guys can add the mono legato here. Alright guys, so that's going to be that tutorial. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. As always, please make sure to subscribe, like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, Instagram if you want to see my naked pictures. And I'll see you guys probably in a few because I'm actually going to be making a lot of tutorials today to make up for the lack of tutorials I didn't put up last week. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. As always, love your support, and I'll see you guys next time.